Here's a complete explanation of what's on my dope card and why, and how to make a dope card. Along the way, we will learn to understand angular measurements and why this is absolutely indispensable for anybody who wants to shoot far. All right, let's get started. As things get farther away, they look smaller. This is just the way it is, right? Everybody kind of understands this. So here's a picture of somebody who's not that far away, somebody who's farther, and somebody who's not quite so far. So in your scope, you're going to have a reticle that's based in mrad. You can use that to measure targets. So here's an example of a target. How big is the angle of the target? 1, 2, 3, 4, and some change. So that's how far, that's the angular dimensions at that distance. Here's the same target at a different distance. So how big is it in this case? It is 1, 2, 3, and some change. That's how big it is in this case. Same target at a different distance, and it looks different, right? So how big is it in this case? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and some change. As things change distance, the angular dimensions will change, and we can measure the angle with our scope. The scope will do a good job measuring the angle. So we can use this to estimate range. You see how we have a Harkonnen size target in each of these three cases? So because we know that he's 70 inches tall, we can estimate the range. So the first chart here is an estimation of range based on this fact. So if we measure him, let's just go through these real quick. So we have a target, and he's 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say 4.3. We look on our dope card, 70-inch target, 4.3. Okay, there you go. This target is 450 yards away. All right, let's go to the second one. How tall is the target? He's still 70 inches tall. How far away is the target? Well, let's look at the angle. 1, 2, 3, and some change. We'll just say 4.2. I'm sorry, 3.2. So we're going to come over here, look at our 70-inch target. He's 3.2 mrad tall. That means he's 600 yards away. Let's look at this last one. How tall is our friend here today? This one is pretty big. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is huge. He's really close, so we don't really need to be too particular. We can probably get him anyway, but let's try it. We'll put him down here. So from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll say 5.1. So 7-inch target, 5.1. It's not quite that. So we'll just say 1 mrad. Because the number's between these two, we're going to pick a number that's between these two, and that's our correction. So we want to shoot this guy, right? What else can we measure with mrads? We can measure how far the bullet has dropped. So in this case, we already looked at it. So we're saying that he's this far away. So let's just say we want to correct 0.8. So right here is where we zeroed, right? Right here is 0.8 mrad down. What happens if we aim with that? Well, I'll tell you what happens. We hit him. All right, let's go to the next one. This time we're going to change it up, and we're going to measure off the door. So he's standing beside the door. Why would we want to measure off the door? Because doors are all very, very precise. They're exactly 80 inches, and they stand still, and they're often bright colors. That's all much easier to measure than a human being. All right, so what are we doing? Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say 4.9. We come up here. We look at this. We're looking at the 80-inch column, 4.9. There you go. We'll say it's 450 yards away. So 1.9. That's our correction. We're going to come over here, look at this guy. And there's dead on. There's 1 high. There's 2 high. Just right there off the side of it. And all you got to do at this point is squeeze the trigger. All right, so where do How do you make these charts? Well, the easy thing to do would be to copy mine. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. It's pretty good. But you need to know where it come from. Go ahead and pause the video if you feel like caring about this and try to figure this out. Here's the formula for those range estimations. Now, where'd the rest of these numbers come from? I just picked these, and these numbers came from a ballistic calculator. Ballistic calculator going to ask you these questions. Needs to know your zero. I zeroed this gun at 250 yards. Needs to know the weight of your bullet in grains. That's 55 grain. How fast is the bullet going? Just look on the box and take off 5%. So in this case, it's going 3,120 feet per second. Ballistic coefficient, you just got to Google that. These ones have 0.243. And it'll spit you out a chart just like that. You got to figure out how to use Strelok. But those are the questions that it's going to ask you, those 4. And then after you answer those questions, it's going to give you these numbers here. And that's all there is to it. That's what an MOA, or that's what a MRAD does. That's why we care. And this is just what you can do with it.